welcome to GAK. I'm Joe and I'm here today with Steve from Marshall to take a look at the Marshall Code 100 head and 412 cab. Okay, so the Marshall Code series is Marshall's foray into amp modeling and kind of affordable amps for beginners. But what the Code 100 has really done is introduce like a gigging head and a couple of cab options like 412s and 212s that mean now the gigging musician has a full Marshall stack for like less than £600, which is pretty ridiculous. But we got Steve in today because we wanted to talk about the finer features of the Marshall Code and kind of just have butchers at all the things it can do, because the Marshall Code is such a unique take on modeling amps, and I think unless you look at it properly, you might just think it's like other modeling amps, but it's really not.
Like you've already explained, the idea is basically to give someone a package where they can just turn up to a gig, they're going to be easily loud enough, have all the different types of amps and effects they want, but without any hassle, basically. Yeah. So everything we're doing today, you'll see sort of the panel and using the iPad, but just to remind everyone, it's all foot switchable.
Yeah, that's right. So there's a separate code foot switch that you can use as well.
Yeah, the 100 comes with a basic foot switch which just scrolls from down presets, but the additional one allows you to recall any 30 of your presets, but you can also access like turning effects on and off, tap tempos and using the tuner on there and all that sort of stuff as well.
Okay.
So,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I guess the unit itself, like I say, there's built-in digital effects which are really great quality, but what I really like about it is the use of the preamp, the power amp and the cabinet types, and they're all separate.
See, this is the thing, this is what separates the Marshall Code, and this is what makes it super cool, being able to like mix your favorite preamps and power amps, and kind of the things the things that you've modeled on within the code are so desirable as well. They're the sort of things that people are going to want a particular type of preamp, but being able to have it with like a vintage 30-watt style power amp is great.
Yeah, so you could go, let's say, I don't know, you want to try out like the classic JCM 800, you can do that. But if you want to tweak a little bit, obviously you can try the 800 with like an American Class AB power stage instead of the conventional EL34 based UK one. That's usually typical with that amp.
Yeah, so rather than like just having kind of these models of great classic amps, you can really make it your own in sort of a way that has never been available on modeling amps before, because you're either having one thing or you're having the other. I love that you can make your own Marshall with the code. I think that's a super cool feature.
Yeah, and there's also other amps in there too. So you could sort of try like your favourite sort of American style clean amp, but with a 4x12.
Yeah.
You know, so you can mix and match pretty much anything that's built in. As sort of editing everything on the panel, you can use the iPad, and there's basically an app called Marshall Gateway, which allows you to sort of edit on there as well, do all your presets, but also you can then share them to the cloud, which is basically called mymarshall.com. And that allows you to sort of download other presets, share your own, and it's basically an online community.
Yeah, that's great, and it's cool. Like people are starting to move in this way with digital amps. It's great that the code then becomes so much more because you're open to kind of everyone else's presets as well.
But what's super good about it as well is once you've got all your presets done, if you've got them on your app, whether it's your phone or a tablet, you could go anywhere. Like if a venue's got code or rehearsal rooms, and basically just turn up with your device, ping all your sounds across, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, that's super cool. And kind of the fact that you've got to remember this isn't just like a practice amp or a recording amp, because the Code 100 is a 100-watt head and there's a combo as well. That's a full gigging amp that you can now carry around your presets.
Yeah, and what's super cool as well, obviously, the USB on there, obviously you can use that for the firmware updates, all that kind of stuff. But you can actually record straight out with that as well, straight into your DAW.
Right. See, that's great. That's like direct recording. So it's now a home studio amp as well as a gigging amp, as well as kind of everything in between. And because there's so much modelling on there, obviously you can use this. You can get great sounds out of this at low volumes. So it's also a kind of a home use amp as well. I mean, if you want to have this much space allocated to a bedroom amp, then you can, and it will still sound good.
Yeah, so like I say, it's a great unit. It's very easy to use as well. I think when a lot of people sort of think of Marshall, they think of your classic valve amp, sort of no messing around. But with this, it's essentially that. It is an amp, but you've just got the addition, like I say, of your signal chain at the top there, which gives you pre-effects, preamps, modulations, delays, all that kind of thing. And to be honest, if you're not a tweaker, you don't really need to dig that deep if you don't want to, because there's 100 sounds built into these, and there's pretty much something there that you're going to be able to use. Yeah,
you've pretty much covered every obvious base. So unless you really want to sort of tear it apart and put it back together, everything's there. It's not the sort of thing that you have to know how to really get inside the unit to make it sound good, which is actually what we should probably show everyone, like kind of a few cool presets that are just sort of there off of the bat on the Marshall Code.
Sure. So the presets that come on the Marshall 100s are basically there's some new presets in there. So the first load of presets were great, but then what we did is kind of listen to what people actually wanted.
Right.
Out of the presets. Cool. So exactly. Because there's 100 sounds in there, a lot of people are getting lost.
Yeah.
So we just put kind of the first sort of 12, 13 presets as the go-to for most people, or a starting point for what they may want to edit themselves, if that makes sense. So the first one, JTM, which is our first ever amp we made from Marshall, and it's basically just a straight up clean amplifier. So people typically sort of go for an over processed, too many effects kind of preset with these kind of things to kind of disguise the fact that the amp models might not actually sound that great, in my opinion. But with this one, like I say, it's just a straight up clean, little bit of reverb, and it gives you that sort of classic
I mean, there's nothing digital sounding about that.
Yeah. The next one, again, it's another clean. Again, I'm using the panel to change the presets. You can do it all the foot switch.
Right.
But this one is a bit more of an American flavour, if you like, with a bit of delay, a bit more delay, and with some delay because we didn't have any before, but a little bit more reverb as well. So it gives us this. Okay. So again, the delays on this are really nice actually. I'm using a vintage style delay on that. So we're getting a slight warble on the repeats as well.
Yeah, I mean that's something you don't expect from modelling amps, is like attention to detail on the built-in effects. That's super cool.
And then as we work through the presets, basically they start to get a little bit more gritty, a little bit more dirty. So this is our sort of famous blues breaker amplifier, the 1962. So. So again, that's kind of, we're getting into Marshall territory now, what people are familiar with.
Yeah.
And then straight into what we're really known for, that plexi, that big kind of classic rock sort of tone.
So that's super dynamic as well.
Yeah. So moving forward, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot to show you. I won't show you absolutely everything. But again, this next one's getting a little bit more gainy, but slightly more modern sort of sounding. But again, what I really like about these sounds is, we saw the dynamics with the plexi, but I can hit kind of weird chords and you can still hear everything. It doesn't get oversaturated and fizzy and kind of horrible. So again, that's that big chunky kind of rock tone, but it's still musical. It's not that over-processed, over-distorted.
Cool. And these are all the absolute out-of-the-box presets?
Yeah, we haven't touched any of this today.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I think these are a real good starting point for most people to kind of tweak and do their own thing. Here we go. So this is like a lead tone. This is more self-indulgent. Tons of distortion, delay, and all that kind of stuff. So you know where that was going. And then there's obviously lots more flavours. But if we look for something which is a little bit more effects based, we've heard a lot of the amp kind of tones. So here we go. This is that big cliche 80s kind of session sort of tones, but we can really hear how nice the modulation is with this one. So. Again, that's straight out of the box. And what else we got? Oh, so the obligatory sort of rhythmic delays that everyone's kind of over familiar with, I guess. So that kind of. Sure, you've all noticed I can't actually play any U2 tracks, so I should have thought that one through a little bit first, but you get the idea. And then let's look for something crazy. So, okay, so not the most musical preset, this one, but it's just to show you what it's kind of capable of. So this one's called Experienced. If you try and play a normal song with this, it's not going to work. It's a reverse delay. So if you think of when Hendrix used to reverse the tapes to get that backwards guitar thing, you get that kind of. So
instant Hendrix.
Yeah, if you're sober, it might not come across as well, but you know.
Who wants to be sober?
That's it. So, like I say, all these presets are straight out the box. You can edit and store over any of these. There's 100 slots. They're all full, but like I say, you can store them, overwrite them, sort of rename them, do anything you want. And you can also, you've got the choice whether to save just to your device if you're using the app, or both the amp and the device. And the use of that is you can actually keep all the stock presets and still have loads of your own on your device.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're essentially creating extra slots.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So essentially you could have 200, which is nuts. Because most guitar players think use about 5 or 6 sounds tops, but it's there if you want it.
Awesome. We're going to take a look at the app flexibility of the Marshall Code via Marshall Gateway. What we've got is, we've got the iPad. The iPad is wirelessly hooked up to the app. The cable coming out of it's going to our screen capture device. So,
Yeah, so like I say, like you've just pointed out, it's all wireless. It works off Bluetooth. And essentially this is a controller for the amp. A lot of people think you need to use this to get all the features, and you don't. You can do everything on the panel.
Great.
But to be honest, this makes life a lot easier, a lot quicker. So, yeah, I mean, basically, once you're hooked up, it basically shows you which preset you're on. Presets you can change quite easily. Just pull out the preset tab, and I can select any kind of sound I want on there. And then once I've done that, you've basically got your basic amp controls on the front. So obviously I've got my gain, bass, volume, middle, treble, and the noise gate. And to change anything on here, I'm just basically sliding my finger up and down to sort of increase or decrease the value of each parameter. But again, if I want to tweak that preset further than just the basic tone, if you like, I pull out the amp tab, and basically it's showing me the preamp type, power amp type, and the cabinet type all on one screen.
Great.
So again, I can change those. I mean, again, same as the other codes. There's 14 emulated preamps.
Right.
And then you've got 4 different types of power stage. And then the cabinets, which are all based on Marshall cabinets, because we kind of invented the 4x12 anyway. Yeah. They're all based on our product, so you can see the way they're named. We've got 1960s, but we haven't just got a choice of 4x12, 2x12 or 1x12. We've actually got choices within that, so you can select a 4x12 with the modern or the vintage speakers.
Oh, that's great.
And even the hand-wired cabinets and all that kind of stuff, so there's a lot of choice in there. And then the effects, again, really easy. Okay, so we can see what's being used and what isn't. If it's red, it's active. But again, just to turn any of them on and off is just simply click on the power button and then put your finger on it to adjust any of the parameters. So as you can see, even if you've never kind of used anything like this before, it takes seconds to get used to. There's also a playback feature, so any music you've got on your device, you can actually play through the amp if you want to jam or sort of play along to your favourite backing tracks.
Perfect.
But within that as well, there's also you can set up a loop, so you want to loop a certain section of a song, you can do that, and also slow it down without adjusting the pitch, which is a great feature.
That's great. That's super useful.
Yeah, and then under the menu, you've got basically all your connection settings. You've got the My Marshall, so once you've been online and created an account on the my.marshall sort of website, again, which is all free, any changes you make to your amp, you can hit sync and it will be automatically sent to the cloud and sort of saved, just in case you lose your phone and your amp, which would be unlucky. You've still got all your tones sort of safely locked away. The tuner's cool on the app as well. Again, you can access it on the amp itself, but it gives you a nicer sort of screen display. But also you can change the tuning type. So you've got open tunings and drop tunings and all that kind of stuff.
Great, that's really super useful.
So again, some people might choose to use it or might not. But for me personally, I just think it's a lot quicker, a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely for like building stuff, and especially when you're going to start looking at effects on top of the amp modelling.
Yeah.
I think being able to access them in such a sort of linear fashion is super useful.
Yeah, and there's this cool little icon in the corner that a lot of people sort of ignore. At the moment, it's got a picture of a code amp pointing to a phone, which means the phone is listening to the amp. Right. Basically, all the presets in here are being sent over to this. If I reverse that by clicking it, they happen to be the same presets because I'm just using everything as stock. But if I had my own library, that'd show me my presets in. So I could go to my friend's house, play all my sounds, and then as soon as disconnect and walk away, his amp's back to how it was.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of nice and simple. That's the app in a nutshell.
Perfect. So that was the Marshall Code 100 head and 412 cab. Thank you very much, Steve, for coming down and talking us through everything code.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a pleasure.
And if there's anything else you want us to check out, let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos from GAK coming soon.